Afternoon, everyone. Daniel with eXp Realty, the Elite Builders. Today, we're going to be talking data, and more data. I know you guys love when I go over data and statistics about the market. This is going to be a continuation of the last episode. Got a lot of pertinent information. Buyers, sellers, renters, everybody who's going to be in the real estate market. I have some really important statistics for you. It's not all doom and gloom, but there are some things that I want to go over with you for whatever part of the market you're in, whether, again, it's to purchase, it's to sell, it's to rent. You may be looking to rent your property. There's some important stats that we're going to go over here. So let's get into the data. My associate, my producer, the person who makes this all possible, Nicole, is on the podcast too. Say hi to everybody, Nicole.
Hi, everybody.
She is she's going to be here and kind of going to go over some stats with us too, with regards to the data and the market. So let's get into it, everyone. First, what we're going to talk about is home supply. This is a really important statistic. This is Realtor.com. So you have to be a realtor to obviously understand this information and get it. So first thing we're going to talk about is the supply of homes. Right now, year over year, the supply of homes is up. Okay, so it's up 68% from last year to this year. That is a huge number. Okay, so what does that tell us? That tells us that of the 50 states, 49 of them had more active listings in February compared to last year. So one state, and it didn't actually give the state that had lower listings, but 49 of the 50 states had higher listings than the year before. So we can interpret that a couple ways. We can interpret that as there are more sellers in the market, or we can interpret it as there are less buyers in the market. We can also interpret it as both. There are more sellers and less buyers. I think there are less buyers because of the interest rate market. I'm going to get into some data to support that opinion. I've always thought that. So that's why in previous episodes, I've always encouraged you as buyers, if you have the ability to pay a higher payment, you are buying equity by buying a property 15 to 20% less than you could have 2 years ago. You're buying equity. So if the payment's not a problem, you can refinance it in a few years. Now you're basically buying equity into the future. So, and I have data to support that. So the second stat that I have is that these increases, again, they are largely due to fewer buyers, which I had just gone over, but rather than new listings or new construction. So what I mean by that is it's not that they're not building and there aren't new listings. It's that the buyers that are out there, they're fewer. They're few and far between. Buyers are having buyer fatigue. They got fatigue from 2020 and 2021 from not being able to purchase a property because every property that they put a bid on, there were 15 to 20 bids on them and they weren't able to buy them. So what happens is now those buyers become renters because they're usually renting at that time. The overwhelming statistic of buyers that are first time, they're renting. There is a certain percentage that either live with family or they have a situation where they're not paying rent, but the majority of them are renters. So what happens when they pull out of the market and they say to themselves, well, we're not going to try and buy anymore. We put bids on 5 houses. We got outbid on all of them. They re-rent. Well, what happens when you re-rent? Your rent starts to increase because the landlords know that you're going to be re-renting. So rentals right now, the rent rates, there was a time in 2020, I want to say 2020, the end of 1 to 2022, where in Hudson County, rental rates were almost double. There were a few towns, I think Hoboken was one of them, where rental increases year over year were like between 40 and I think 48%, something like that. It was an insane number. And again, it was because This episode is brought to you by The Elite Builders. It's brokered by eXp Realty. I've spoken a lot about Elite Builders and the value stack that you get just by partnering with us. There's tons and tons of value here. But again, aside from the financial value, which we'll get into in a minute, becoming an Elite Builder, really, you're going to basically change your life in every facet: physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. What do I mean by that? You're going to be in proximity to people that operate on a high level, high character, high integrity. We're creators. And what do we want to create? We really want to create leaders and inspire you and others to be the best versions of yourself, highest version of yourself that you can be. And when you do that, you're now operating at a high level, and you're going to then inspire others to do their best. And then when you want to talk about it from a financial perspective, as far as if you're an agent or a broker, the value stack that you get free group coaching. All right, so let's go through them. Group coaching, it's a $3,000 value. You have role play groups that I run 2 of them, 7:30 and 11:30. Where you learn scripts on what to say, how to say it, and how to say it with confidence so you can help serve your clients to the absolute highest level. That's a $1,000 value. There's an exclusive ladies mastermind group. Okay, that's a $3,000 value. Very, very high these women are operating at such a high level. They have their own exclusive mastermind. Awesome women in there. That's a $3,000 value. The scripts and the courses themselves that you get, expired, for sell by own, or just listed, just sold, pre-qualification, listing presentation, objections, all of it. You get that and the courses that are online in like 40 different languages. That's a $1,000 value. The systems training, the CRM training that you get, the systems training itself is a $2,000 value. So we train you on how to put systems in place so you're operating your business at the highest level possible. So we have that. The CRM training, which is basically your database, we teach you how to put all of your clients into a database, and then it serves you and feeds you as far as contacting them, how often, and how to serve them. So it's basically where you're housing your whole business. That's a $1,000 value. And then the events and the webinars that we have, another $1,000 value. Like, you're looking at over $10,000 in value that other agents that aren't partnered with eXp pay. And when you do partner with us, these are all free. They're literally all free. So if this is of interest to you, just reach out to me. Again, you can subscribe to the channel, Dan the Man Talks Real Estate. I'll send you more information about it, or you can reach out to me on the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Daniel Mesrobian, and we'll send you all the information you need to get you started on, again, just building your life and partnering with us to be literally the best version of yourself that you can be. If you think about it, it literally did a 180. In 2020, you couldn't rent property. You couldn't, owners were paying broker fees in towns like Hoboken, that never happens. But they couldn't give these rentals away. There was so much inventory. And then it was so odd. It flip-flopped from 2021, I want to say, to now. Now there's no inventory, and owners aren't paying broker fees. Tenants are, and tenants are paying. They're offering $200 and $300 and $400 more for rentals. I have 2 of them right now in Bayonne that same thing's happening. I've had like multiple applications on it, and some of the renters are willing to pay more. So that's what happens when buyers pull out of the market. Now, 2 of those applications, they were buyers. They communicated to me that they put offers on properties. They just kept getting outbid on them and said, we're not going to overpay. We're just going to re-rent again. And they're going to just keep saving money. So interesting statistic. So we'll go on, and this was not shocking. In response to this data, twice as many sellers have taken price adjustments in 2022 than 2021. Twice as many. So in 2021, very few sellers were taking price reductions. to sell their property. They didn't need to. The majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them, were getting multiple offers on their property. So they didn't need to, you don't need to take an adjustment on that. You price the property right, and by right, I mean at market, a little bit below. You're going to get buyers and agents seeing value there. They're going to make offers. It's going to be, and then you have a highest and best situation because you have multiple offers. The buyers will compete with each other. So this year, 2022, complete 180. Not happening.
2023.
Because good catch, Nicole. Because, and I'll tell you why. We don't have data for 2023 yet. We only have January. So a lot of realtors' stats, like it's March, what is it now, March 7th? They're just starting to come out with February's data. So the year over year, these are yearly statistics. So from 2021 to we have 2022's full year.
Got it.
Yeah, we don't have 2023's yet. But good catch. Love it. Because you're going to be buying a home at some point, too. This data is going to be important for you.
At some point.
Right? So now we're seeing a very, very competitive market for sellers. And here's why. For 6 months now, in a row, supply of homes have increased. So that statistic went up to, February. So what's 6 months? February, January, December, November, October, and September. So from September to February, September 2022, February 2023, the supply of homes has increased. So 2 reasons for this. This is important data. Number 1, high home prices. So when you have high home prices, and what we mean by high is prices that a seller is asking and the property's not selling. So that to me is a high home price. And number 2, high interest rates. So again, it goes back to buyers just pulling out of the market because rates are I think Powell actually is going to raise the rate again, or he already did another point or quarter point. They are the Fed is on a mission, and he's been the bane of my existence and many other people with regards to just continuously pounding rates up. So we'll probably see 8 to 9% by the end of the year. I think probably close to 9 we'll see by the end of the year. That's just my opinion, but they're going to raise them again. So if they didn't, they are going to do it in the next week. And they're meeting, I think, 2 more times this year too, the Fed central bank. So this is a very important statistics. So along with that, again, so 6 months in a row, homes have increased. Supply of homes have increased. So that's a very interesting stat because one of those 2 things usually has to give. And what I mean by that is if you have high interest rates, we see buyers are pulling out of the market because you have less buyers. If you have high home prices, like that means that you have to be competitive for that niche of buyers that's still out there. So your home has to be competitive to them. You can't, the old way of starting out and if the market's saying your property's 500,000 and you're saying, well, I'm going to list it at 550 and work my way down, like that doesn't work right now. It's not going to work. The buyers won't buy it. And there's a stat that's going to show that, and it's right here. February homes have averaged 56 days on the market. Okay? So February of 2022, 56 days. That's almost 2 months sitting on the market. 37 days in 2021. So it's just almost a 3-week increase in days on market. And days on market is a very telling stat for where your inventory is and where prices are. Because if you're a seller who has to move, like your family is relocating to Florida, your wife got a job there, there's a death in the family, and you can't carry the cost of that home. Whatever the case is, and you have to move. We call these life events. You have to move. You can't afford to have the house sit on the market because you're going to ask this high number and think that these buyers are going to make offers negotiating down. That strategy doesn't work. It's not going to work. And this shows it. High home price, like 6 months in a row, the supply of homes have increased. Why? Because sellers are asking a number. They're still thinking that it's 2021 and 2020. Those days are over. They're not here. The Fed has, it's not my opinion, the Fed has 86 that whole that whole thing. It's those numbers aren't here. So you have to get shrewd. If you have a life event, you need to sell. Like, you have to get competitive. Because again, now these properties are taking 3 weeks longer to sell. And it relates again to seller motivation. These life events, you're planning, when you put your property on the market, most sellers have a plan in mind as far as dates and times. We're going to move, and usually it's 3 to 4 months. If you list your property, within 30 days, you should have an offer that's accepted, and then with financing, another 45 to 60. So from start to finish, it should generally be about 90 days, maybe a little bit longer. If sometimes things get, the attorney review might get delayed, the inspection, you might have to haggle with inspections and things like that. So those days, you're hiring movers, you're looking for the new place you're going where your next destination is. Your house sits. All those plans go by the wayside. It throws a monkey wrench into this whole plan of time, all these events that you had in mind. The most important thing of it, which is the sale of the house, is what's holding it up. Like, the sale of the home is the most important thing in a seller when they're relocating. It's the biggest thing. So these statistics are compounding that and just sharing with, I'm sharing it with the public. Look, homes are taking longer to sell. There's still high home prices and low inventory. The inventory is starting to rise. So I shouldn't say low inventory anymore, but higher interest rates. So those are some pertinent data as far as homes and home prices go. So now we can talk about, and I'm just looking at some notes here, coordinating moves and such. What happens is these are all moving parts. I help navigate these moving parts with sellers every day. I do it every day. So I'll share with them when I'm sitting with the seller, I'll give you your 2 strategies for how to price your property, because pricing property is probably the most important conversation you can have with the seller, other than pre-qualifying them and making sure that they're ready, willing, and able to make the sale. Talking about price and having a realistic expectation of what the market is going to give them, that's a skill that is taught by us as elite builders to other agents. So having that candid conversation with the seller and explaining to them, here, I know you want this, but the market, unfortunately, is showing us this. Is it an option for you not to sell this home, but still make that move to Florida and relocate? No, we really need to sell the property. Okay. Well, that leads us into that second strategy, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, of we just list the property here, which is where properties are trading. Sometimes we can list it even a little bit below that. And the reason we do that is it creates value in the eyes of those buyers and their agents. And once they see value, they're going to go see the property. They will see how beautiful the property is, and they're going to make offers on it. Now we have more than one offer. And what happens to your price when we have more than one offer? We know that it goes up. One strategy, price comes down. The other strategy, price goes up. That is a skill to present that to a seller. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of uncertainty in the market. And what I'm also noticing too is buyers and sellers really need to compromise to make deals happen at this stage. Being realistic about their situation and their expectations, and really just making the deal happen, which again makes both sides are going to, with the compromise, it's interesting. It's like a dichotomy. Both sides are unhappy and both sides are happy because you had to give up something, but you also got something. So I think that that's really where we are in this market. We're in such an interesting market because buyers feel like it's a bad time for them. Sellers feel like it's a bad time for them. So we're going to get into that in a minute because there's a name for that, and I'm going to get into that. So here's an interesting one too. 13% of active listings right now have had price reductions. That's up from just 5.4% from 2021. So that is more than double the listings, almost triple the number of listings have had price reductions in 2022. So that tells you that sellers are getting more creative with making their home more valuable, because there's two ways to make your home more valuable in the eyes of a buyer. Number one is to add things to it. If you have two like homes, okay, so we have two homes, they're very similar to each other, and they're both on the market, and they're both they're at the same price. To make one more attractive than the other, you're going to add things to this home, but still keep the price the same. So if this home adds a pool and another garage and maybe a second or a fourth bathroom, which property is going to be more? So, Nicole, we have a property that two are the same, and one adds a bathroom, a pool, and a detached garage. Which one's going to be worth more if they're both priced the same?
The one with the pool, the garage.
And why is that?
Because it has more value for the same price.
Exactly. You get more for the same price. So that's the first way to add value to two properties. The second is to just lower the price. Now the buyers will see that, and then they're going to look at both. And what we end up seeing is they're going to use the one that's higher. That house sells the second one because they look at them both and then they see, well, this one's less. Let's just buy this one. So the first one who keeps their price, the seller that keeps their price the same, sells their competition. It always happens. And I go over that on the listing presentation. I share with them and say, look, I printed out 3, so we have 3 comparables here that are going to be our competition once we go to the market. If I turn this iPad around, we have another 3 that are going to be in our price point. So that's 6 properties that we're going to be competing with, right? Yes. Okay. So what do we need to do in order to, how do you want to price the property? Where do you feel comfortable coming into the market, price-wise, to make your home the next obvious choice to sell, so we don't sell your neighbor and we're still on the market? Like, that's a question I ask them. It's a powerful question because it really puts the onus on them. And sometimes they'll say, like, what do you think? And again, I'll go over stats. Well, we know this price isn't working because it's still on the market. We know this price isn't working. So your neighbors are doing us a favor. They're testing the market out at these price points, and they're letting us know that these price points aren't working. Does that make sense to you? And they'll say yes. Okay. So now we know that information, and then we go over the solds, and we say, well, what we see here, we know this price point worked because it was only on the market for 20 days, and it traded $5,000 above the list price. So we know that the market saw value at that number. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, and here's the second sale. This one traded right at list price on the market for 29 days. So we know with 100% certainty the market is seeing value at this price point. Are you following? Yep, I understand. Okay. So seeing this information, knowing what we now know about where buyers are seeing value and where they're not, and we can thank our neighbors for that, where would you feel comfortable coming into the market? So again, we can be the next one to sell and get you guys down to wherever they're going in the time frame that you want. And that comes with practice, but that also comes with serving the client. You're not telling them a price. You are allowing them to self-discover and figure out the number that they're comfortable with that's going to get their property sold, because we know what is working and we know what's not working. Just to kind of wrap a bow on what we've been talking about today, and I think we've focused a lot on sellers and expectations in this market for sellers that do need to sell. It isn't all doom and gloom. Again, I just really feel that a seller needs to really understand that there are less buyers out there, and the ones that are out there they're going to be competitive with what property they want. So presenting as an agent or a broker, presenting price to them is going to be really, really important. Probably top 2 in skills that you need to present price to them, and not just agree with them when they say, if a property is trading, properties like theirs are trading at $500,000 and they say, well, we want 6. You just say, yeah, okay, like we'll list it at 6. That's not doing the seller a favor. You're hurting the seller and you're hurting your own credibility by doing that, because it's not going to serve them. The property won't sell, and you're going to have to chase the market down with price reductions. It's not just presenting price is a skill, and presenting it in a manner where you're educating them on what's going on in the market. They can self-discover the numbers that the market is bearing, and then together as a team, as you and the seller, because you guys are a team, we come to an agreement on a number and a strategy. Each week you're talking to them, so a strategy and how to communicate with them, what's happening with their listing, offers that you get, if any, and showings that you have, if any. But again, if you're pricing it at a little bit below market value, you're going to have showings, and more often than not, you're going to have offers. So it's a skill, and I just think that with agents, the majority of them understand how to present price, but there are some who just don't, and the ones that take these listings that are way above where they should be in this market, it's really hurting the seller because they're going to sit. Because those properties have been looked over and gone over by agents time and time again. That's why they're on the market 80 days, 100 days. Everybody's seen them, so they become stale. And I'll talk about that in the next episode, which is stale listings on the market, and the fact that once you pass a certain number, usually it's, 65, 70 days, everybody's seen them. The buyers have seen them. They've glossed over it. They're not interested in them anymore. So they're stale, and the questions are asked. And again, we'll go over this again in the next episode, but I'll preface it with buyers will ask, what is wrong with the home? Even when there's nothing wrong with it. That is a common first question. Second one is if they like it, let's get it at a deal. It's been on the market 80 days, 100 days. We're not, you're never going to pay list price for it. You're going to come in lower. And that is a byproduct of improper pricing at the listing appointment. So, with that said, we'll wrap a bow on this episode. Next week, or I should say in 2 weeks, we're going to get into some more data about interest rates and things of that nature, and why properties are on the market for an extended period of time. We just talked about a little bit. Okay, so the book of the week, man. I know this isn't really real estate. It's not real estate related, but it is personal related for me. And I know I can't be the only one who was in pain for a long period of time. So for those of you who don't know, I was pretty much incapacitated for 2020, the middle of 2020 to the middle of 2022, for about 2 years. I had severe back pain, lumbar back pain, lower back pain. So to the point where there were weeks where I was curled up in a fetal position, and I could not move. And I've been athletic, playing soccer, track, weights, yoga, cycling. I mean, you name it, hiking, anything that is an exercise where your body is in work, is in motion, and you're sweating. I generally have done it. So, and again, it started at a very early age. And then in 2020, I've always had issues with back. I slipped a disc. I don't know. I was with my friends doing wheelies on motorcycles years ago, and riding down to my boy Jesse's house in Maryland, and I felt it. You feel it move, and it's excruciating. So nerve pain. For those of you who haven't had it, it's the most excruciating. Have you ever had nerve pain, Nicole? Like
only tooth pain, not.
Well, tooth pain's like nerve pain,
Yeah.
like because your teeth are like there's nerves. Like when they're drilling in there and they hit a nerve, like you feel it. That's why they got to Novocaine you.
Yeah, I wasn't fully numbed one time when they were doing a root
Really?
canal. Yeah, I felt it.
Were you Were you screaming?
I pushed the doctor off me.
That's why they got to Novocaine you, because it's nerves. Well, so imagine that on your back to the point where you can't move. Like I can't explain it other than it is just excruciating. So for those of you who have had back pain, I met this gentleman, Peter Goskew. I met him in 2018 at a Tony Robbins conference seminar in San Jose. And I didn't have back pain at that time. I didn't have any pain at that time. I shouldn't say that. I had shoulder pain, but I fixed shoulder pain. I did PRP therapy, like stem cell,
Okay.
platelet-rich platelets, I think it is, or platinum-rich platelets, PRP. Anyway, what they do is they take your blood and they mix it with this platelets, and then they inject it into the wound. I had 4 tears in my left shoulder. Like
Platelet-rich plasma.
Yeah, platelet. Is that it? Platelet-rich plasma. Boom. Good call. So I had 4 tears in my left rotator cuff. Great doctor. Injected me. So I heard about this, and I didn't want to get surgery. They told me that I needed surgery, and it would be 9-month recovery. I was like, no. It's got to be an alternative way. Thankfully, a friend of mine who was at the Tony Robbins seminar said, do not get surgery. Go to this doctor in New Jersey. He's like the best ones in like California, I think, from being rated. To me, he's the best. But so I went to him. He said, yes, I can definitely fix you. And he injected 4 shots. I mean, a needle is like this freaking long, but it wasn't that bad. They numb you. And they inject it in, and you can see it on a sonar screen above you. Like you see the needle going into the wound, and then he injects the PRP. And it's painful. But damn it, I'll tell you, my shoulder it's fine. This is 5 years now. What, 2023? Yeah, 5 years. No pain. The back, I don't know if that would work. But I was reading a book online, like Audible. And it's how our creator, like for me, I don't believe in coincidences. So this is how my creator works. He pops this book in front of me as a suggested reading. And I was like, man. And I was in pain at the time I was reading, and I couldn't work out. And I was like, I met Pete. So I bought the book. This is for any kind of pain. This goes over lumbar back pain, thoracic back pain, cervical back pain, thoracic, lumbar. Okay, so top is cervical, thoracic is your middle, and lumbar is your lower. So it does all 3. It does hand, it does knee, it does foot, it does elbow. Any kind of pain you have, this book will give you exercises to cure the pain. John Lynch, who's if for any of you football aficionados out there, John Lynch is a Hall of Fame safety, and he's also the GM of the 49ers right now. Like, he writes the foreword to this book because he puts these principles to his players in the 49ers. That's how awesome this is. So with the knowledge of this book and a phenomenal spinal correction chiropractor down in South Jersey when I was there, I cured it cured, I guess. 100, I don't know if I don't know if my back will ever be 100%, but I'm crushing it at the gym. I'm hiking, I'm doing yoga. I'm back to what I was doing before, and a healthy, active, and virile life. So pain-free, Peter Goskew. For any of you out there, I sympathize with you. I've had it. I still sometimes do. It's not that I'm cured of it, but it is eminently less than it was. And if you just get your regular, for me anyway, regular chiropractic adjustments, like I'm in heaven. So Peter Goskew, pain-free. He's got an Instagram page too, and I highly recommend this book for somebody who is having chronic pain that just can't figure out how to do it. Give the exercises at least 2 weeks to 3 weeks to really have your body start to change, because you're changing the structure of your body, because something's off as to why you have pain. Something's off. So, pain-free, Peter Goskew, great book. You're looking at over $10,000 in value that other agents that aren't partnered with EXP pay. And when you do partner with us, these are all free. They're literally all free. So if this is of interest to you, just reach out to me. Again, you can subscribe to the channel, Dan the Man Talks Real Estate. I'll send you more information about it, or you can reach out to me on the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Daniel Mesrobian. And We'll send you all the information you need to get you started on, again, just building your life and partnering with us to be literally the best version of yourself that you can be.